Before the Blair Witch Project made everyone shit themselves in unison, the UK had a similar issue on its hands 7 years prior. No, not the ongoing cover-up of this specimen, it was this little production. On Halloween night 1992, BBC One aired Ghostwatch, a TV drama set in a normal family home, where paranormal spooky shenanigans have been scaring the family's children. They speculate a ghost is haunting their family home, which the children have nicknamed Pipes, due to the ghost messing around and banging on the central heating. A well-known camera crew made up of well-known TV faces report back to a studio to prove the existence of this spooky bugger, and as you can tell from this premise alone, all hell breaks loose. But as quickly as it was aired, it was very quickly banned, becoming a, well... oh mate, it traumatised the nation, didn't it? Children were terrified, some reports of women went into labour, and a grown man shat himself. That's not even a lie, an actual grown man watched this, was so scared, he shat himself. It was so bad that his wife actually complained to the BBC, demanding a refund for his trousers. God, I love my country. Now, this film has been discussed in video essays and breakdowns, etc. for a good long while on YouTube, and I am by far the first or best at discussing things like this in depth. There are far better channels on here that go more in depth on this classic. This is more of an appreciation video more than anything, really. The presentation of Ghostwatch is fantastic, but it's also very simple. You know, take well-known TV presenters at a time, like the late great Michael Parkinson, Craig Charles and Sarah Green, and just have them in this home where, you know, you're made to believe it's happening right in front of you. It's genius. Why did this TV mockumentary cause such a fuss and issue back in '92? Where I already mentioned how people went into labour, a man shot himself, all that kind of stuff. But I believe there was far much more to it than that. Number 1. The time it was released. Remember, Ghostwatch came out at a time during the pre-internet era. Most of the world got their information from newspapers, radio or TV. And also there was no such thing as replaying back live TV, or even a recorder one for that matter. So people who tuned in late couldn't go back and check if what they were watching was real or fake. People would call in and they'd be told that what they were watching was fictional. You know, no harm, no foul, it's all a big prank, big joke, you know, good horror story, you know, that kind of thing, and move on with their day. Well, Christ almighty, you're gullible, you thought massively wrong. As there was so much caller traffic coming through to that number, it quickly got jammed. Now you've got 20,000 people roughly who are trying to get through to this number. So not only have you got a scared audience, you've got a scared audience that is running rampant as to what they believe is happening on screen is real. God, it must have been terrifying, but man, I miss this era of TV so much. It just seems so cool to be a part of at the time. Number 2. Pipes the ghost himself. Pipes, or his real fictional name Raymond Tunstall in the story's lore, was a mentally ill child molester who killed himself in the family's house years earlier. Now for a BBC drama, that's some pretty dark shit, and especially as he possesses the children later on in the story. He's got this presence that is really, really unsettling, and it's even more creepier when you figure out his intentions. He pops up in the crowd of the live stalls, he is in the reflection of glass, and is just terrifying. Look at this bastard. He works as a blink and you'll miss it kind of trick, where you think you saw something, and it toys with the audience, you know, making you think, you know, was there something there? And that really added to the scare factor of this show. Keith Ferrari, who played the spooky nonce, had reportedly died years after Ghostwatch came out, when a group of producers wanted to interview him for a cast reunion, so to speak. There's hardly any pictures of him online, in costume or out of costume, and his IMDb page is pretty damn scarce. To me, that's what makes Ghostwatch brilliant, as it has a more of a cursed vibe, you know what I mean? It's brilliant. And finally, number 3, the suicide of a teenager. Now this is definitely one of the reasons why Ghostwatch was buried and frowned upon for many years. Days after Ghostwatch aired, 18-year-old Martin Denham sadly took his own life. He reportedly had the mental age of 13 and was incredibly into the show, like being fixated on it. According to his family, after watching it, he was heavily concerned with the noises of the central heating in the house. When his body was found, he left a note behind that said, "Please don't worry. If there are ghosts, I will be a ghost, and I will be with you always as a ghost." Just bloody horrible, isn't it, really? A week or so after the show aired, producers Ruth Baumgarten and Richard Broke appeared on BBC Bite Back. I guess the equivalent of today would be Question Time, I guess, if you're political and all that shit. they just got ripped to shreds by an angry audience, and you think to yourself, it was aired after 9 o'clock, which means it's okay because obviously it's not appropriate for children, yet these people let their kids watch it. Let's have a listen to some of these corkers.
Let me bring in Susie Dixon over there, because you watched it with your 2 small sons, yes?
Yes, that's right. I was actually under no illusion at all that it was a spoof. I read as many reviews as I could, and we actually built our Saturday night with the children around watching it.
But your son was upset?
Yes. Within 5 minutes, nothing had happened. He reacted instantly. He was very distressed instantly to something very sinister in the presentation, and nothing had actually happened.
I didn't know it was a drama. I've got 3 children, 14, 12 and 10, and Michael Parkinson is a well-respected and mature fatherly figure. Sarah Green and Mike Smith are synonymous with children's television. I just thought that it was going to be a very safe...
And were they frightened?
Well, yes, my youngest child, who was 10, rushed out of the room, vomited in the hall, was absolutely ashen-faced, wouldn't even talk about the thing for 2 or 3 hours. It was at 1 o'clock in the morning that I got her to talk about it, and she wouldn't sleep in her own bed for 2 nights.
What about you now? You 3 girls on the front. Natasha McPeak, you watched it. What did you think of it?
Well, I thought it was one sick joke, the way that it was based around children, the way that the children were involved in the actual story. Why did you have to bring the children into it? It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at all.
Betraying the trust. You put up a phone number. 20,000 people phoned that number. I was one of the fortunate people to get through, and all it was said was, I'm sorry, our lines are engaged at the moment, please try later.
That's not true.
Yeah, but I got through to the number.
I'm terribly sorry.
I got through 811, 8181.
Right,
I got through to the number.
Was staffed by
Yes.
5 operators,
Right.
and I'm sorry, I underestimated. Can I
excuse
please
me,
make my point?
No, please. It's
Yes,
got bite back.
just
I don't want to nibble.
let him finish
I
off
want
and
to
make the
bite.
point.
Now, how is Ghostwatch perceived today then? Well, it's now become a cult classic, being loved by the people who originally saw it back in '92, and people like myself who watched it many years ago. It's become the benchmark for cursed or found footage media that is so big today, and was just recently put on Blu-ray, so even better. I personally love this little flick for its originality and how it duped the nation, tragedy aside of course. To me, it proves how gullible the nation was at the time, and how impactful television was as well, like I said before. You couldn't go back and rewind this thing. If you were watching it, you had to either turn it off or watch it, to prove that it was actually a drama. So, big up to the people who made it, it's fantastic. Nowadays, we're oversaturated with terrible, terrible shows that, just have no rhyme or reason to exist, and it's just, it's shit. TV today is stagnant and shit. I think the last time we had something similar to this was back in 2018 with Inside Number 9. If you haven't seen that series, just stop what you're doing and go watch it. Inside Number 9 is fantastic. The Halloween special called Deadline, I feel, pays homage to Ghostwatch a little bit, in some ways. Instead of a haunted house, you've got a haunted TV studio. And it was all done live. I love it. It's great.
We will get something to air for you. I was saying... Hello? Is someone there?
But it also birthed shows like Most Haunted, where people actually wanted to search for ghosts, and sure, it's cheesy and, probably a bit far-fetched and daft, but there was an audience for that type of television all those years later. If you haven't seen Ghostwatch, just go and watch it. I honestly, it's fantastic, it's spooky, it's creepy, and it's very, very authentic. With that said and done, we will leave it there. Have a fantastic Halloween, stay safe. Oh, and join my Discord server as well. I'll leave a link in the description down below. And I'll see you next time.